choose the darkness chose us. In 1290, during the Holy War Crusades, a clandestine excavation took place at King Solomon's Temple in the heart of Jerusalem. The Knights Templar were on a desperate quest to unearth holy relics and sacred knowledge buried with Solomon, hoping to harness their power to turn the tide against the Muslim armies they were losing to. The legend speaks of a man favored by King Solomon who fell victim to a demon named Orneus. Orneus used his demonic powers to drain the youth's vitality and spirit. Upon hearing of this, Solomon summoned the archangel Michael through a mystical practice known as the Almadel, described in the Lesser Key of Solomon. Michael appeared before the troubled king and entrusted him with a magical ring bearing the six-pointed star, or seal of Solomon. With this ring, Solomon gained the power to summon and command demons and spirits to accomplish tasks. Two military monastic orders of Templars, the Knights Hospitaller and the Knights of the Holy Sepulchre, fought during the Holy Wars in Jerusalem. It was rumored that their enemies, the Muslim armies, were aware of the dark power lurking beneath Solomon's temple. They secretly tipped off the Templars, hoping to unleash this sinister power upon them. The Templars, however, were driven by the allure of unimaginable treasures within the ancient temple. They knew it was a race against time before their enemies reached their stronghold. As whispers of an imminent attack spread through the castle, the knights prepared for their last stand in Jerusalem. They had lost countless men and ground over the decades of war. Their final orders were to retrieve the holy relics and send them back to their homeland as quickly as possible. Late at night, a fog shrouded the castle and the battlefield. An uneasy feeling of impending doom hung in the air. Suddenly, a watchtower soldier shouted for everyone to get into position just before an arrow silenced him. Thousands of flickering flames appeared in the distant fog. Moments later, fire arrows rained down on the castle, with archers returning fire into the mist. Soon, catapult fire weakened their walls and defenses. The Grand Master ordered 3 of his most experienced and trusted knights to assist in the final excavation and protect the holy relics at all costs, ensuring their safe passage back to the kingdom. As the 3 knights descended into the ancient tunnels, they knew they might never return. Above, the main gate was nearly destroyed, and soldiers from the Muslim army began scaling the walls. The knights lost more ground and control of the stronghold. The Grand Master commanded the remaining knights to defend the tunnel leading to Solomon's temple. The last of the knights took up defensive positions, ready to lay down their lives. They could hear the sounds of their fellow knights being slaughtered and the castle being ransacked. Then, an eerie silence fell. The men could hear their own heartbeats and breaths. Suddenly, a horde of soldiers charged down the tunnel. The surviving archers let loose a hail of arrows, felling many, but for every fallen soldier, 10 more took their place. Swords clashed, and the knights, outnumbered 20 to 1, fought valiantly in the confined space. The Grand Master fell, and only a few Knights Hospitaller and Knights of the Holy Sepulchre remained. Suddenly, the doors to King Solomon's temple flew open. Dark shadows emerged from the tunnel and disappeared among the attacking soldiers. Moments later, the 3 knights walked out, each bearing a magical ring with the 6-pointed star. Their eyes were pitch black, and their gazes pierced through the Muslim soldiers. With no time to waste, the remaining knights made way for the unholy trio. The 3 knights, now wielding immense power, decimated the enemy forces. The rest of the knights, seeing their chance for survival, joined the fray. Together, they fought their way out of the castle, forcing the enemy to surrender. It is believed that the Muslim Brotherhood intervened, striking a deal with the last of the knights. In exchange for allowing them to keep whatever they found in the ancient tombs, the knights agreed to abandon Jerusalem and never return. Honoring this agreement, the knights boarded their ship and set sail for Europe. Their mission completed, and their lives forever changed. Upon arriving ashore, they were confronted by fellow Templars demanding all treasures and a report. Unable to deceive due to witnesses, the knights revealed the truth about the cursed rings and their escape. The Grand Master ordered their disarmament, but the knights resisted. The survivors stood with them as they unleashed the ring's dark energies, creating spectral warriors and barriers of shadow. The Grand Master's soldiers, unprepared for sorcery, faltered and were defeated. In the aftermath, the knights and survivors swore an oath to protect the secret of the rings and to safeguard each other. They parted ways, each burdened with the weight of their dark powers, vowing to keep the ring's existence hidden. A few months later, the 3 knights, now known as the Forsaken Knights, lived in solitude,
hiding from the world. Their quiet lives were disrupted when a unit of Templars, loyal friends from their old order, found them and demanded answers. Why have you forsaken yourselves? Why did you slaughter your own? Why did you choose the dark side?
We didn't choose the darkness chose us.
One of the Forsaken Knights explained. In Jerusalem, we were ordered to uncover King Solomon's holy relics. As the enemy overran us, we found these rings, passed down from the Archangel Michael to King Solomon to command entities. We used their power to save the survivors and ourselves. The unit of knights, though shocked, empathized with their old comrades. The Forsaken Knights decided to face their fate in Rome, to be judged by Pope Boniface VIII and the Council of Vienne, along with the Pope's holy guards. Upon arrival, the Forsaken Knights were brought before the Pope. His henchmen, who abused their holy powers to subjugate the people, stood menacingly beside him. You are charged with malevolent sorcery and treachery. You will be burned at the stake. A mysterious priest, clad in black with a hood concealing his face, walked beside Pope Boniface and whispered in his ear. Moments later, whatever was said seemed to change the Pope's mind. You have another choice, Boniface said. Use your dark powers solely for the Church and for God, and I promise you eventual freedom. The knights, not wanting to be fugitives or harm innocent people, especially their own order, looked at each other and nodded. They swore an oath to the Pope. Understanding their grim fate, they were now bound by this oath, tasked with slaying creatures of darkness, all under the watchful and manipulative eye of Pope Boniface VIII. He took them to a secret room where he briefed them on their first mission. There are beasts I need slain. You will do God's deeds. There have been attacks in England like nothing we have ever seen. After the knights were briefed, the Pope's henchmen led the Forsaken Knights to the church's hidden crypt, where the captured creatures were kept. These beings, the lead henchman explained, are unlike anything we've seen before. They are larger, faster, and more powerful than any man. We have lost many good soldiers trying to contain them. He opened a heavy, iron-bound door, revealing a dark, dank chamber lined with cages. Within these cages, twisted shapes lurked, their forms indistinguishable in the dim light. Some creatures bore a resemblance to humans, yet their eyes glowed with an unnatural light, and their limbs were elongated and sinewy. Others were entirely monstrous, with scales, claws, and grotesque features that defied description. You are to capture one alive and kill the rest, the henchman instructed, reminding the knights of their mission. These creatures have been attacking the church and its people. We need to understand their nature and, if possible, harness their power for our holy cause. That answer didn't satisfy the Forsaken Knights, but they nodded anyway. Up until this point, they had only fought humans, but this mission was different. With their newfound powers, this felt like more of a challenge. The very air around them seemed charged with malevolence. They armed themselves and prepared to venture into the night where the creatures lurked. The Forsaken Knights accepted their mission and set sail for England, their minds heavy with uncertainty and dread. Upon arriving in the land of the Angles, they made their way to Winchester, a town cloaked in fear and whispered rumors of monstrous creatures. Winchester, once a thriving medieval hub, was now a place where shadows seemed to stretch longer, and the air carried a sense of unease. The townsfolk spoke in hushed tones of the attacks that had plagued them for months. The church itself had become a fortified sanctuary, housing those too terrified to remain in their homes. Suddenly, a blood-curdling scream pierced the night, followed by the sound of tearing flesh and a guttural roar. The knights quickened their pace, moving toward the source of the commotion. They found themselves in a narrow alleyway where the remains of a fallen soldier lay torn apart. From the darkness, a pair of glowing eyes emerged, followed by a hulking figure. The creature was enormous, standing over 7 feet tall, with muscles rippling beneath its scaly skin. It had the head of a wolf, with elongated fangs that dripped with blood. Its hands were tipped with razor-sharp claws, and its powerful legs ended in clawed feet that dug into the cobblestone streets. This was no ordinary cryptid. This was a being of immense power, a creature born of darkness and malice. The Forsaken Knights readied their weapons, knowing that this battle would test their strength and resolve. The The creature lunged at them with incredible speed, its claws slashing through the air. The knights dodged and countered with practiced precision. One of the knights, wielding his Ring of Solomon, summoned a barrier of shadow to deflect the creature's attack. The other two knights struck with their swords, aiming for the creature's vital points. The battle was fierce and relentless. The creature's strength was overwhelming, but the knights fought with determination, using their dark powers to gain the upper hand. They managed to wound the beast, but it only seemed to enrage it further. With a final, coordinated effort, the knights managed to subdue the creature, binding it with chains imbued with the power of their rings. As they dragged the beast back to the church, they couldn't help but wonder what other horrors lay hidden in the shadows of Winchester and beyond. Back in the crypt, the henchmen secured the creature in one of the reinforced cages. "This is just the beginning," the lead henchman said. "There are more out there, and we need to find them before they find us." The Forsaken Knights knew their journey was far from over. They had faced unimaginable horrors and survived, but the true test of their loyalty and strength was yet to come. As they prepared for their next mission, they could only hope that their dark powers would be enough to protect the innocent and vanquish the evil that threatened to consume the land.